all right. Turn this shit down. Let's get started, shall we? Shall we? We got a whole lot of people in here. Ask, what? Oh, sorry, I was reading chat. Yeah, be sure to like the stream. And here we go, everybody. What's going on? How we feeling today? I'm feeling quite good. It's going to be a good live stream. We're going to talk about some things. Depends on what you guys ask me. And yeah, setup's looking nice and clean today. I'm feeling clean, hair's on point. So let's get into it. Let's get the good vibes going. Let's get the questions going. Let's enjoy the weekend. It's a weekend. Yeah, this song goes hard. All right, let's get into the questions. Let's start it off strong with when will you box Hamza? Good question. We'll figure it out. You know, we'll probably meet one day and we'll box. We'll figure it out, I'm sure. Hold on, let me see. I'll show you guys how I... So I've only been in one fight. I'll tell you guys a story about that fight. And I've never, like, learned how to fight. So I don't know how to box, and I know that Hamza has kickboxing experience. Hold on, I forgot to set up slow mode a little bit slower. But yeah, let me fucking skip here. Put this up. Zoom out a little bit. So me and Hamza in the ring. We going back and forth. I have no idea what I'm doing. But I feel like I can go pretty fast with my hands. Like, so I'm just gonna channel all my anger. My fly's undone. Great. I'm just gonna channel all my anger for him having more subscribers than me into my fists. Protect my face. I gotta do that too. Is this good? All right, let's get into some actually valuable questions. What do you say? All right, Jesus. He's like white Mike Tyson. So true. Facts. Do I stretch? I do stretch every single day, multiple times a day now. So I've found when I made that video, how I got out of my worst mental rut in years, I said in that video that stress is not the problem. It's the lack of recovery from stress that's the problem. And I found that to be definitely true. And now I find that as long as I can take like 20 to 30 minutes of doing stretching and yoga poses in the morning, as well as meditating without looking at my phone, and at night doing the same thing, then I can, my ability to handle stress, the threshold is much higher. So yeah, I suggest everybody stretch, especially if you're weightlifting. You'd be an absolute fool to not stretch if you're weightlifting. Like, it's so important. looking cute. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Y'all are looking cute too. How to cope with heartbreak. You do kind of got to cope at the start, don't you? A lot of people associate the word cope with always being negative, but sometimes it's what's needed to get through certain grievances and situations. What I did, what really helped me, because when I went through my last breakup, it was at the start of the pandemic and I couldn't really see anybody. I used to, at least like a couple times a week, even though I probably shouldn't have been, go over to my friend's house. This one specific friend, well, actually it's two friends because they're brothers and they're like a couple years apart, but I'm friends with both of them. And hanging out with them really helped to take my mind off of it and also just like keep me in a positive mood. But at the same time, you know, I did take a lot of time to do the things that I said I would do, that I said I did in the How to Get Through a Breakup video. If you haven't seen that, definitely you should watch it. Getting Through a Breakup. You should watch that video, and It's Time to Let That Shit Go by me. So, along with that, seeing friends, which kind of helped me to take my mind off it and lift my spirit, I also did the things that I said, which were like journaling about how I felt, really accepting the fact that I was grieving. And you need to give yourself that time, that space to mourn, because it is like a loss, and it hurts a lot when you think about everything and think about this person and how much you guys did together and how they were your other half in a lot of ways. And so you really need to feel those emotions, because that's just a critical part of the human experience, is feeling those negative emotions and just saying, yes, this is what it means to be human. This is what it means to be alive. And that's kind of what I tell myself when I'm tired or I'm sad or I'm angry. It's just the full expression of human emotions, and getting in touch with those. The way you do that is by feeling it. You can't heal it unless you feel it. And so that's what I would suggest coping with heartbreak, getting through heartbreak. Just know it's going to take some time, and think of it as an amazing opportunity for you to focus on the things that you may not have had time to focus on when you were in the relationship. And take this time to focus on yourself, to do things that build your confidence back up, because usually after a breakup, your confidence is kind of shot, because I'm assuming the person broke up with you, and it's like, oh, am I not good enough? Like, am I not a good enough person to be with someone else? And so things I did, just like moving the boulder up the hill little by little, helped me a lot. Just like adopting new habits, good habits, seeing growth in something, that built my confidence back up, because it's like, okay, things weren't as bad as they seemed. I actually am capable of growing, and I have a lot of worth on my own. And so all those things you need to do. Where can I find motivation for stuff? Well, you can't rely on motivation. You need to be disciplined, of course. But to find things that keep you motivated, you got to have a why for why you're doing these things. Like, that's strong enough, that's bigger than yourself. The reason I continue doing YouTube is because I have huge aspirations for my future, for what 1 million subscribers means to me. It means it's just the culmination of all the work I put in all of the past years that I've done. All of that work, just feeling that's what that number represents. And it also represents how many people's lives I've influenced. And so that's really what I try to keep in mind when I'm trying to motivate myself, is like, I just remind myself why I'm doing this, because I'm making a positive impact on other people. I'm working towards a future where I can no longer worry about money, and then I can start just helping other people with my money. And it just feels good to improve. The feeling of being able to do many things but nothing exceptionally well. Any experiences? This used to be me big time. I used to never get past being average at things. Like, I always considered myself to be someone that, if trying something, I could be pretty good at it, but I'd never be exceptional at it. It's only when you work on something and you dedicate yourself to it consistently for years that you become exceptional at something. So you probably just haven't been doing, like, you probably give up too easily on things because you're not seeing progress quick enough, and progress is not supposed to be quick when you become exceptional at something. There are the really gifted people, but even that is kind of a hoax. Like, those people put in so many hours, so much effort. A lot of people that have this sort of mindset here, it's like, you're probably just too young and you haven't put in enough work on one thing and focused on one thing for long enough. You like jazz, Cole? I love jazz, actually. I love it a lot. Really fuck with jazz. Should I be stressing about my grades as much as I do? I don't think stressing about anything too much is bad, right? But grades specifically, I mean, it depends what you want to do. Do you want to go to college? Do you want to go to a good college? Do you want to get a degree? If yes, then those things matter. But as far as like stressing, you shouldn't stress over it too much, because that's just going to cause you to obsess over it and overwork yourself. And I mean, for what I'm doing personally, it wouldn't matter if I was getting good grades or not, but you should like try to get good grades. Like, if that's the thing that you're in right now, the thing that you're really well, a lot of teenagers are forced to be in school and whatnot by their parents. If that's the case that you find yourself in, just like dedicate yourself to it. Even if you don't really like school and you don't like your classes and you're not passionate about them, there are ways to become more passionate about them. You know, see it as a fun challenge. I wish I would have done that when I was in school. Like, even if it was a class I didn't really like, it's like, okay, well, maybe I'll never use this, but it's a good way to expand my mind. It's a good way to challenge myself to learn something and memorize something. And in that way, it's like, okay, well, that's cool. I'm still improving myself. Maybe it's not the most beneficial towards overall life, but still cool. My voice is computer-like? Kind of is. Does dating success or failure show something is wrong with you or determine self-worth? Definitely does not determine your self-worth. It depends on where you're going, what type of people you're like asking. Because depending on the type of, like, the places you're going, they might not be people that are compatible with you. There's a lot of factors that go into it. So I don't think it determines your self-worth, but the majority of your dating things that are happening to you right now, because you're probably young, are going to be negative. And you're going to get rejected because you don't have that much experience yet. But, you know, just keep putting yourself out there. Learn new things. Take what you can from each experience. There's a lot of people that teach good dating advice online, but I found that what really helped me with dating, I suppose, is, yeah, just getting to understand myself more and being totally okay with myself and who I am and embracing that. And I feel like I've gotten much more success with women just because of how much more confident I am in myself, and also because I feel I know I really embrace the masculine sides of myself that I used to unconsciously suppress. And, you know, there's a lot of things going on right now with the war with some aspects of masculinity. You need to bring those out, because it really does make you, it really fucking gives you a lot of energy. Oh, we got a couple donations here. Christian with the $20. Thank you. Thank you, Christian. The whole message isn't showing here. Can I get it to show? I don't know. But the whole question says, Cole, over the past 2 years, I've been on a downhill emotionally and mentally. I want to improve in life, but I'm at the point where I'm struggling to want to live. What should I do when even the reasons people give to don't matter? That's heavy. The thing I always suggest in these situations is to first, you gotta examine your beliefs, where they came from, what people have told you throughout your whole life that made you get to this point. Perhaps you see these like little things that make you go on downhill and lead to a downward spiral, but their significance, when looked at objectively, is not large. You know, a lot of us experience like 10 minutes of our day being bad, and we dwell over it for the next 10 to 20 hours. And that type of mindset is super, it can really bring you down. So I would really evaluate the things you tell yourself when bad things happen is everything. And so you need to adopt a growth mindset. And if you don't know what that is, I suggest looking up like growth versus fixed mindset. Because what you're going through, you can absolutely get through with the correct mentality and with the correct just frame of mind with life in general. I know I've said a lot of things in my videos about like self-improvement is meaningless, but do it anyway. I think you just need to find something just worth struggling for, worth moving towards. And I always suggest going to therapy as well. If you haven't gone to therapy yet, that will help immensely. Especially if you find the right therapist. I always recommend people in this type of situation do. But you need to start focusing on the small wins each day to start building back up your self-confidence, and then reevaluating your beliefs you have about life and yourself and how accurate that they actually are. There's a lot of ways to do this. I suggest looking up, if you want to first find other methods other than going to therapy, like look up what's called CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. And there's a lot of worksheets you can find online that really help you to deconstruct your thoughts and the things you tell yourself on a daily basis. So I would start there. See what you're telling yourself, see where your beliefs come from. For example, if you don't feel like you're good enough, it may be because of a bad upbringing or the things people told you as a kid, and that just shaped your reality and who you think you are. And so you've believed this for so long that you think there's no way it can't be true. But a lot of these beliefs we have are untrue and not accurate. So that's what I would suggest. Highly suggest therapy as well. Love you, dude. Just keep pushing forward. Keep making those small wins. Focus on the small wins. We got Guitaro. Wait, what? Is that how is it? Guitaro 5000. Shout out to you because I feel like you've donated a lot. Thank you. There's a guy named Hulk Hastings that uploads your videos in reverse. We're gonna have to find that guy. Would you hire a podcast editor on your new channel? Possibly in the future, but not right now. I think I'm just gonna edit them. I have a video editor now for my main channel, so I might just have him start editing those eventually. You boast productivity, but time would be best spent obtaining education. I believe your videos should have more disclosure stating that you are not a professional in psychology, but still Godspeed. I try to say that pretty frequently. I'm definitely not a professional in psychology, but I did graduate from school with a degree in cognitive science. So I wouldn't say I don't know what I'm talking about, but there's definitely more to learn, and I am, especially with my, with the course that I'm making, I'm working with people. A guy who is part of the pre-sale is actually a professional mental health expert, whatever you want to call it. And we're using a lot of tools that are used by psychologists for that course. Because yeah, I definitely don't know everything, and I want that course to genuinely change people's lives, like I said. And just a little update on that. We finished the first video. The pre-sale group is awesome. Shout out to all you guys if you're here. Yeah, we went through the first video that I made. They gave me feedback on it, amazing feedback. And so I went back and re-edited it. And It's looking much better. The worksheet's looking good. It was just an introductory video, but still. Super stoked. I'm probably going to start working on the next video today. I feel like social media forces me to feel like I need to be rich and not work a 9 to 5. What do you think about that? I mean, yeah. Social media is designed to keep you... Well, it's not designed to keep you miserable, but that's the way it inevitably comes to. It makes you feel like you're not doing enough always because it shows people's highlight reels. Their lives don't actually look like that. Majority of people's lives is spent doing boring ass shit. And if you have a boring life, I think being boring is severely underrated now. Because a boring life leads to a lot of meaning and fulfillment if you can use the boring life to really just sit back, enjoy presence, contemplate life, which I do frequently. I try to do frequently. I just find a lot of solace in just contemplating my existence on a regular basis. Yeah. Yeah. We got a $5 donation from Man Behind the Mind. Thank you, man. Thank you, Man Behind the Mind. Hey, Cole, love your videos, bro. Thank you. How did you hone in on your masculine side more and deal with the fact social media screwed dating? All right, I'm just going to keep it completely real with you guys on this question. I mean, on all questions, I try to do that. But I mean a little unfiltered here. So, how did I hone in on my masculine side more? It's a great question because I went through such a transition before I understood the masculine side of myself, from being kind of submissive and enjoying that in bed too. Majority of the time I would if the girl was the one who was dominant, and now it's the complete opposite. And how did I hone that in? It's a good question. So I suppose weightlifting helped quite a lot. Just kind of seeing why I thought that, I don't know, wanting to use a lot of my energy and have that drive. Why did I want to suppress that? I asked myself, and it didn't make any sense to me. It seemed that a lot of things that are said on social media were suppressing that within me. And so weightlifting definitely helped a lot. I think just man, it's actually hard to think about what helped me hone in my masculine side more. Just accepting being more brute and assertive and to the point, and just this is what I want, I'm gonna go after it. Fuck you if you get in my way. That kind of mentality. And just being more confident with myself as well. Is just thinking back then I definitely was too nice and had no authority. So having more authority as well. And dealing with the fact that social media screwed dating up. What I did, I instead of being bitter, I said, fuck it, I'm gonna play the fucking game. So if it's true that majority of men are getting rejected on dating apps and everything, and like you need to be in like the top percentage of people, then I'm gonna become a top 1% guy. I said, fuck it. Like, if I weightlift, take care of myself, good hygiene, build a successful business, have all of these good traits that most women, not all women, are looking for, then I will stand out from majority of guys. So that's how I did it. That's how I dealt with it. I said, screw it. I'm just gonna dive into it. I'm gonna be better. So yeah, that's the answer to that. That way you attract superficial women? I wouldn't necessarily say that. You attract superficial women if you decide to be to be more successful and more attractive. That doesn't really make sense. It depends where you look. And if you're at that level, there's a lot of high quality women at that level too. Are you on NoFap? I am on NoFap. Medium mode though. Because I do actually have a girlfriend, guys. You guys will probably see her eventually. Eventually. We're just talking about a bunch of masculinity and dating stuff, and yeah. I am in a relationship now. I'm great at saying hello to people and making friends, but not so great at keeping a long-term relationship with them. Any thoughts or advice? Yeah, you got to be the one to make the plans after. People are busy. I'm really bad at this as well, like keeping a long-term relationship with them. You got to be the one to be proactive, make the plans for the next thing that you guys do. Cole, what advice would you? Yes. We got a $1 tip from Victor. I'm 16 and I want to stop watching porn and masturbating, but I always fail. My latest streak was 34 with no pee and no ejac. Can you give me some tips to help me quit this bad habit? The thing that helped me the most with both of these things is asking myself, what state of being triggers me to want to do these things? And for me, it was like loneliness and not having some sort of intimacy and connection. So in that case, it's like, I need to put myself out there more. I need to talk to more women and build intimacy with somebody to make it easier for me to not want to do dirty websites, we'll just say. So it's usually used as a coping mechanism. And you got to figure out what is it that you're like coping for. Is it because you're lonely? Is it because you don't feel good enough? Figure that out. And then find ways to deal with this in a more healthy manner. I want to know your Myers-Briggs type. It is I don't know how much I believe in these types of things, but I'm INFJ. How many people we got in here? 331, whoa. Hey guys. This is a if life is unfair, doesn't that mean life is fair? Let me think about this one for a second. If life is unfair, doesn't that mean it's fair? You got me on that one. I'd be down to make a whole video on that type of content after I thought about it enough. What's your opinion on the effects of childhood trauma in the realm of self-help and self-improvement? Is it a subject you'd be interested in diving into in future videos? That is something I'm going to be dealing with and teaching people how to handle in the course, since I'm using things that I've learned from education and other professionals. But as far as me talking about it on my YouTube, I don't know if I would do that because I didn't go through like serious childhood trauma. And I like to talk about my experiences and what I know on my channel, my stories. So I don't know if I'd be willing to talk on my channel, but I'm definitely going to have that be a thing within the course. Sorry, I just read a ridiculous... How are you so calm, man? I'm always kind of on edge. It's just total, complete, radical acceptance of the insanity and absurdity of life. I have no idea what's going on right now. Things seem to be a mess because of social media, and maybe a lot of things are a mess. Why do things exist at all? I'll never have these answers, probably. And I've just become okay with it. I'm just doing me. I'm just like, hey, I'm living. Your favorite vegan protein source? Definitely tofu. How tall am I? I'm 6'2". Seasoned? Yeah, seasoned tofu. Yeah, seasoned tofu. What advice would you have for being more assertive, standing up for yourself, and being comfortable in your own skin? There's a dude who makes some really awesome videos on this topic that I've been getting in my recommended a lot. Let me see if this is actually his name. I think someone mentioned him in the chat, actually. Yeah, Julian himself. Here, I'll throw up his channel right now on screen. I really like this guy's advice. Pretty much all of it. Really like this dude's advice. Hopefully this doesn't leak anything. It did leak something. Actually, it doesn't leak anything. This guy, Julian himself, he has great advice in like his seminars to like just embracing being assertive and being your real self and being confident. I really like a lot of his advice. I don't think that actually leaked anything, so we're fine. How do you stop doubting yourself? Oh. How do you... Oh my god, I hit it again. How do you stop doubting yourself too much? This is one thing that has hampered my growth to a great extent. I'd probably evaluate what you're focusing on in terms of, like, growth. Like, what are your parameters for for what I should accomplish to not doubt myself? So, like, are you saying, oh, my YouTube video got 10 views. I don't really know if this is ever going to work. So you're focusing on the 10 views being not enough, even though you probably just started YouTube if this was like a thing you were doing. That's the type of shit that really fuels your doubt. When in reality, if you just stick to something and be consistent at it for so long, that is when you really see progress in something. So I would say self-doubt comes from a good point someone just made, Vince Vintage, is you'll never feel like you have enough views. I don't even feel like I have enough views right now. 300k subs and 300 viewers, your channel's dead. Yikes. Guess it is. But I don't know. It's hard for me to answer these types of questions in detail with doubt. I suppose I did doubt myself in my YouTube journey early, but somewhere in the back of my mind, I just knew, like, if I kept going with this, it's going to work. So I would focus more on the improvement of something rather than, like, the outward metrics of that thing. So, like, maybe a lot of people aren't recognizing what you're doing, or you're not getting a lot of attention on whatever it is, but you're still improving at that thing, right? So that's why you shouldn't doubt yourself. And you're probably early in the process. As long as you continue doing this thing, that shit is going to work. As long as you don't give up and you stay consistent and you get 1% better with each time you do whatever thing it is you're doubting yourself in, that's what you should focus on rather than the outward, nothing's happening, this isn't going anywhere. Focus on how you are improving yourself, not how many people are paying attention to you. Are you a fan of any sports? I am. Soccer's my favorite sport. I love hockey too. I love football. I played all of these as a kid. I also played baseball, but I don't really like watching it. Yeah, here, as far as like the doubt thing goes, focusing on the right things, Vince says, if you're looking back at your old videos and think, man, I used to suck, that means you're getting better. So if you like look back at the thing you are doing that you're doubting yourself in, and you're like, man, I used to suck, you're getting better. So that's what you got to focus on. That's what I always focused on. $5 from Yaya drops. Thank you. I put a lot of effort into my friendships and feel hurt when I don't feel as valued as I value them. I get taken for granted Any thoughts? Now, they could be just bad friends if, like, they really aren't putting any effort into the friendship. If they don't make you feel better about yourself, they don't support what you're doing, then they could just be low-quality friends. But there are often instances where perhaps you're overreacting with how much you need out of somebody, because if it is a friendship, sometimes, not all of their time and attention is going to be focused on you. But if you do have these needs that you want to be met in a friendship or a relationship, be vocal about it. Like, tell them, hey, when you do this, I feel hurt and I don't feel valued. Let it be known. And then if they do say, okay, I'm sorry about that, I will change, and they do actually change, then that's great. But if they don't, then they're not good friends. So that's what I would say. We got a 10 from Fitz. Thank you. I need to find my niche and don't love most things. How did you decide your niche? Talking about YouTube. I was just starting to get into self-improvement during that time 5 years ago. And I didn't really know, like, if it was going to be a good thing. I didn't really know if it was the right thing for me to pursue. But I just knew that I needed to start. A lot of people spend so much time, specifically in regards to YouTube, getting the best camera gear, finding the best editing that they can possibly do, doing the most research that they possibly can on the right niche. When really you just gotta, like, at the start, you just gotta hit record. You have to just hit record. So, yeah. I think that you might be overthinking the niche thing. And like, picking something that you enjoy, but maybe you don't love yet, and just saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Think about, there are a couple questions I guess you should ask yourself, like, would I enjoy making this into something that is a career? Like, more than a hobby? Would this be fun to be more than a hobby? And then you just you start recording and you hit upload. And this relates to passion, and something I've been talking about passion a lot on my Instagram story and on Patreon is you don't find your passion. That's the biggest fucking bullshit there is. You make your passion. You don't become passionate about something until you've really invested a lot of time into it and you've seen some progress in it. So the reason you don't love most things is because you haven't invested enough time into anything yet. That's when you start to become passionate about something. Like, when I first started YouTube, I wasn't passionate about it. I was like, okay, this could be something. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it for a while. And if I come to find that I really like doing this thing and it's worth eating shit for and getting up and doing the work for, even when I don't want to, then it'll probably become my passion. So if you don't love most things, you haven't invested enough time into something yet. So I would say stop thinking so much about the niche. Just pick something. Narrow it down to like 2 niches that you have right now. Flip a fucking coin. Heads, niche 1, tails, niche 2. Boom, the coin picks it for you. And then you just start uploading. And that's how you figure it out. You won't know until you just try and try and try. The dude who's helping me with the pre-sale, he's in the pre-sale group. He's donated 10. Thank you, man. I'm the researcher you mentioned earlier. Took me a bit to figure out super chats. I deal less with mental health, but there is overlap. Still going to the LMHC though. Pimp your course to the audience. I'm trying to figure out what that last line meant. Like where, like you're helping me pimp the course, because you definitely are. I also have to look up what. Okay, I see. More like a professional mental health counselor. Got you. So shout out to Anonymous, because I know you don't want to be named. Big shouts out to him. Did you teach yourself editing? I did. I learned everything I know about editing through YouTube and through just editing. I think I just had a knack for editing and really enjoyed the process of it and the progress I saw with it that I became so obsessed with just getting really good at it. But yeah, everything I learned was from just actually editing and from YouTube. You spoke about a quick overall yoga you do to wake up a few videos ago. Said it was like a 10-minute routine. Would you mind sharing that in a video/link? Go back to that video, go to the description, and I have the link to the routine there. Yo, David, how's the course going? I will enjoy hearing your book. Talked about it a little earlier, but it's been going really smoothly so far. Just trying to figure out how to get all 20 people into a meeting. So I do like, I'm going to plan to do 2 meetings every other week probably right now. But the first video is done. The first worksheet is done. We're 1/14 of the way there. This is a good question. I hope I have the ability to answer it. What do you do to overcome the fear that your sacrifices will not pay off? I do have an answer to this. The only question you need to ask yourself in a situation like this is this what I truly enjoy doing and what I wanted to do? And when I looked back at my life, I would say, yes, I failed at that, but it was still what I wanted to do. It was still what was true to myself. That's what you need to focus on. A lot of things I do maybe will not pay off. And that's what I tell myself is, I wanted to do this. It's what I felt was right. It's what I enjoyed. And so therefore, I don't care if it pays off or not. Because also, the other thing is I learned a lot through the process. Even if it doesn't pay off, you've gained a ton of knowledge on whatever you were trying to do. What's your main... Oh, wait, hold on. I got a couple... Well, my main aim right now is 1 million subscribers. Thank you, Fivehead. Is that a Twitch reference? For the 2? What are your fave songs from your college years? Ooh, good question, man. Or women. Or whatever you identify as. My favorite college songs. A lot of Fetty Wap. 1738. That was a classic at college parties. A lot of Kid Cudi. Man on the Moon. Lil Uzi. The Lil Uzi Golden Days. I mean, that wasn't like an album. I'm just saying like the golden days of when Lil Uzi was really going crazy. Man, those were some bops in college. David, thank you, man. Wish you well with it. Wish I had time to help. Thank you. Appreciate that. Should I send her a message if she blocked me? No, dude. Leave her alone. Definitely no. Sometimes life starts going good and I start to feel optimistic, but then I inevitably fall into a state of unhappiness. Any suggestions, man? It all depends on how you view unhappiness, on the dark, more negative sides of life. The things you tell yourself when things get to unhappiness or depression. What you need to do is take them head on. You say, okay, you voluntarily accept the fact that life is full of suffering, that life is full of failures, that you're gonna fuck up. That's how life is. That's how it's always gonna be. Maybe it gets easier in some aspects, but it doesn't actually get easier per se on just the heaviness, the burden of being a human being and existing and going through all this shit that you go through, and you say, fuck it anyway. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to accept the fact that sadness is inevitable, that depression is inevitable. And I'm just going to allow myself to feel it, realize it's a temporary thing, and just push through the struggle. Got some passion there. I really am passionate about that sort of stuff of just like embracing negativity. Yo, Vic, thank you for the one. How's your eyesight? Do you have a diopter and need to wear glasses? Also, are you still studying Japanese? And if yes, what is your level? My eyesight is shit. I wear contacts. I've been slacking on studying Japanese. I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. I gotta go pee, guys. Just give me 1 second. While I'm going pee, look down there. It's like down there. There's a like button. Please like the video. Thank you. BRB. Give me 1 minute. Is it over? No, it's not over. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. Hey, he's back. I am back. Yeah. Where weirdest places you've ever pissed at? I've done my fair share of public urination in my days, but like I always remembered, like I try to hide myself. I don't want people to see me pissing. I've pissed in a lot of weird places though, you know, back alleys, on my car wheel probably. Sometimes you just gotta go. What am I doing? How do you deal with the judge of your close people when you started saying such personal things in public in YouTube? I think people, I don't know. I didn't really get judgment for being more vulnerable. I just got judgment for like trying to do YouTube in general at the start, when people are like, the fuck is this kid trying to do? He's got a fucking 50 subscribers. He's trying to be a YouTuber. Yeah, right. That's the type of shit that I dealt with. So, that is part of the process. It's just like, inevitably, if people see you doing something outside of the norm in any aspect, they're going to judge you for it. That's just the way that life is. When you break out of the cocoon that everyone is stuck in, that they're scared to come out of, because outside of that cocoon is where judgment happens, but you know that outside of that cocoon is what you really want to do or who you really are, people are going to judge you for it. And you just got to be like, most of the time when people like judge me or like roast me, I kind of just like go along with them. Like some guy in my DMs today, if you check my Instagram story for Seasoned Tofu, yeah, here, let's see if you guys can see this. How late is that? He said, bro, being vegan is gay AF. You have cool YouTube vids, but the vegan shit is delusional. And I was like, damn, I think I'm done with veganism now. It's just like, you take the joke and you like run with it. And so that's kind of what I did as a YouTuber too, when I wasn't a YouTuber yet, and people were like, bro, what is this fucking YouTube shit? Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just making a fool of myself and putting videos out on the internet. Just whatever. Hey Cole, I was wondering what your thoughts are on envy/jealousy and how to overcome it. Do you think it originates from low self-esteem? I think it does originate from a place of lack within yourself and ego. I actually want to make a whole video on this topic. Thank you for reminding me. I'm going to write that down in my Notion. I feel like this is already in my Notion, but I wanted to make a whole video on this topic. Like, why you always get so jealous or something like that. Or just call out people even more, like, why you're a sad, jealous person. Some shit like that. When you call people out in the title and thumbnail, they love to click. But can I answer this right now, briefly? Thoughts on envy / jealousy? Yeah, I think it comes from a place of like, I feel like I'm not good enough, so other people can't be good enough and thriving. As far as overcoming it, I think it's naturally going to happen every once in a while. But just like realize that there's enough space in every career, everything that you do for everybody to win. And I'm not saying that like winners and losers shouldn't exist, because that's always going to be a thing. There's always going to be hierarchies and things, like people being better objectively than other people and things, but there's enough space in every whatever for people to win. And that's kind of how I think about YouTube. Like, everybody I see who grows quicker than me on YouTube, initially there's like a little bit of jealousy. But then I'm like, well, fuck yeah. This person's taking a huge W, they're growing. All it means is that self-improvement is in demand and on the rise, and that's inevitably going to direct people to my channel too. Guys, you guys keep bringing up Hamza. We have a whole podcast here. We have a whole podcast together now. I'm going to link the channel. It's called The Hastings Harvest. There's only one video on this podcast channel, but there's 31 episodes already out on every like audio streaming platform. So yeah, guys, I do have a podcast. You can find the link in the description of this live stream as well. Dude, this video just went off because people clicked on it in the recommended. It's crazy. But you can subscribe to the podcast channel there. I just linked it. I'm just going to pin it. So yeah, go subscribe to it. And listen to the podcast with Hamza, and listen to all the rest of the episodes on every streaming platform you can find. What is your favorite book? A lot of you guys have been asking for like book recommendations. Let me grab a few. We got this one. We got this one. We got this one in my hand. So we'll start off with the first ever self-help book that I read was Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss. And still to this day, it remains one of my favorites because there's a lot of sentimental value in it. It started me on the self-improvement path, but also it's got everything. It's divided into 3 parts, like physical, business, and mindset, I think. Is that true? Something like that. Let me see. Part 1, healthy. Part 2, wealthy. Part 3, wise. So there's every aspect of the self-improvement game you can think of there. So that's a book I recommend in terms of nonfiction, self-improvement related. Also, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Classic, but it really just, the advice is timeless. What else? What else? Man, I always forget a lot of books I read. I need to start like writing down things from what I've read. What else have I talked about? I really like Deep Work by Cal Newport. I think if you guys are struggling with like procrastinating or getting work done, that's one of the best books. But I love talking about fiction too. Dune. So this is the most like incredible world building fiction book that I've read. And it's just a great read. It's kind of challenging, very dense. Just a really great book though. And if you're looking for like a fiction book that teaches you a lot, this is probably my favorite book of all time. It might be. And yeah, it's a fiction book. Zorba the Greek. I can't say enough good things about this book. Zorba the Greek, guys. Zorba, the man in the book that the book is about, is just an incredible old wise man who has such a great outlook on life that you guys could learn a lot from. So that's what's kind of the story is about, is like the guy is writing about going on this adventure with Zorba and just living on the Cretan coast, mining, trying to get their bag, and just contemplating life and whatnot. And it's just, it's written so incredibly, so fucking amazing. What's your best advice to become a successful YouTuber? Storytelling is what people connect to, relate to. That's the biggest reason why my channel blew up, was because I told stories about my life. I wasn't afraid to be vulnerable, and I did it in an entertaining way. So the title and thumbnail is the most important thing for somebody to click on your video. So do a lot of research into that first, and then study YouTubers like Mr. Beast, like Leon Hendricks. He makes really good storytelling, self-improvement videos. And yeah, do a lot of research on that and bring in your own unique style to the things that have clearly worked on YouTube. It's a constant work in progress for me as well. But it's going to take a long time to get to that point. Thank you, Rob. For the 5, I highly recommend Mindfulness in Plain English if you're preparing for a 10-day retreat. I got to do a meditation retreat one day in my life. One day. Do you consume caffeine? No, I don't. I'm pretty straight edge these days. even from caffeine. Hey Cole, today approached a girl in the park, got rejected. How do I feel better now after being perceived as creepy? Well, did they actually perceive you as creepy, or like, because when you get rejected, it doesn't necessarily mean they thought you were creepy. You just might be thinking that, first off. Second off, rejections are part of the process. Majority of the time, you're going to get rejected. Majority of the time, I get rejected. Actually, I don't know if... I don't know. I don't do many cold approaches, but... take what you can from that interaction. You know, next time you go into an interaction like that, maybe pay more attention to what... type of body language the girl's giving you and the types of things that they're saying, and reflect on it and see what you can improve. What was your turning point for quitting weed? It's not good advice. I basically just told myself one day, I'm done with this, and I stopped. That was my turning point. Public speaking advice. I think this advice goes for like just being more confident and more charismatic in general. Just talking into like a camera or mirror daily, I do think helps a lot, and analyzing confident speakers as well. And just putting yourself in more situations where you are required to speak and talk to a lot of people will build that confidence. But yeah, doing a lot of practice by yourself as well helps a lot too. So it really just does take practice on your own and in real life. Your weed video encouraged me to quit and go cold turkey. Literally just stopped 2 months in now. That's sick. That's awesome. Thoughts on skincare and sunscreen? Every guy should be doing it. Everybody should be doing it, but guys especially. Will you guys please start lotioning your fucking face and body? Please? Would you guys please brush your teeth twice a day? Would you guys please floss once a day? Would you guys please just do these simple hygiene things? Get a haircut? Come on. We're better than this. Those are the simple things that every guy should do. And sunscreen helps you not burn and get your skin fucked. But you don't have to wear sunscreen all the time. If you had to move away from the US, where would you move? Probably Japan. I would like to live in somewhere in Japan at some point in my life for at least a few months. Actually, that will happen because that's on my bucket list. And what do? If I want something, I get it. I make shit happen. Are withdrawal effects real or placebo? What are you talking about? Like weed? If you're talking about weed, I think there are withdrawal effects. If you've been doing it long enough and consistently enough. What do you think of the Elder Scrolls 6? Is that coming out soon? I don't think that's coming out anytime soon. Cole, I bet you're in a better place in terms of mindset, self, women, and even confidence, but I bet the journey was hard at first with maybe failures. Maybe failures? Plenty of failures. Plenty of failures. That's the only reason I'm in a better place, is because I failed. And that's what I try to tell people. Is like the biggest advice I would probably give people who are young is to try to fail more. That's how you grow. The more you just put yourself out there, embrace fear and rejection and failure, the more you figure out life and figure out who you are and become better at those things with the proper reflection on those things. Some people fail and then they beat themselves up for it and then they make it into a negative thing. There's this video project that I don't really feel motivated or passionate about, but I'm committed. What should I do? Do it anyway. Do it anyway. Have you ever experienced a break during one of your relationships? Good question. Both of them, technically. Well, now I'm in my third relationship. But my first two relationships, we took a break when we went off to college, I think it was, and like things weren't that smooth and we were both just in a bad place, like relationship wise. And it was not good for the relationship. Second time, the girl I was in a relationship with for, it was like 2.5 years, who I've talked about in my videos. So like a year into our relationship, I broke up with her actually for like several months. And I guess you could call that our break. And then I started to realize like what I lost and I wanted her back. Yeah. Don't know if I should have done that, but then the relationship continued for another like almost 2 years. So breaks are, I don't think breaks help relationships. What did I fail at? A lot of things. I've failed classes. I've failed being good at certain sports. I've failed relationships. I've failed just being good at dating in general. I've failed YouTube technically for like the first couple of years I was doing it because I wasn't seeing that much growth, even though I really wouldn't call that a failure. I failed many things. That's the only, like, I had to fail to even succeed at practically everything I've done. I don't just start out being good at something or succeeding at something. I had to fail first at basically everything that I do. Do you believe that everything happens for a reason? Technically, you could say everything happens for a reason because, okay, the reason I'm on this live stream is because at one point today I decided I wanted to do it, and then I decided I wanted to do it because of a certain set of thoughts that led me to this point. So technically, everything does happen for a reason, but if you're saying it in the context of like, oh, my tire got a flat today because I was supposed to avoid going wherever I was going. I don't know. Or I was supposed to get to where I was going in more time. I'm supposed to take a break here. I don't know, but it's certainly a good way to think about things and can help as long as you don't let it like completely delude yourself from reality. Yo, Dimitri, thank you for the 10. What are your opinions on Stoic philosophy and how it could apply in modern society? Well, I made a whole video on I made several videos on Stoicism. It's great. I mean, I think there's a lot of teachings in it that can be used to just apply to modern society. I think that's why it's so popular right now, is because it does apply to modern society so much. Of not being so reactive to things, to realizing how much is outside of your control and only focusing on what you can control, I suppose, is the main overarching idea of Stoicism. So, I mean, specifically to modern society. I mean, basically what I just said, I suppose. But yeah, I like Stoic philosophy. And thank you for the 10, Dimitri. Do you not follow the news? Or do you, or do you not follow the news, or you do but have a way to be profoundly detached in order to not let it get to you? I mostly don't watch the news, but I do think it's important to stay somewhat informed. But regular news on the TV, I think, is total brainwashing, mind control, and people are so, it's just so fucking delusional, the shit that they decide to promote. It literally, it is brainwash, but I mean, everything is to an extent brainwash if you're continuously watching a certain type of theme. Oh, we got a $4.99 from John. Thank you, John. Do you have an experience with psychedelics? If so, how was it? And did you learn anything? If not, what's one hard life pill to swallow? I like that question. So, I've talked about psychedelics. I'm dying. I have a whole video on psychedelics. It's titled I wouldn't be successful without psychedelics. Oh my god, what's going on? It's titled I Wouldn't Be Successful Without Psychedelics, but it's kind of clickbait. Like, let's be real here. I've had a handful of experiences on LSD and a handful of experiences on shrooms, and they definitely profoundly changed my life. I do not condone the use of psychedelics. I'm not supporting the use of them either, because I think it's extremely important to be in the right setting and be with the right people and have the right mindset when going into it. Otherwise, a lot of people can't handle the experience. So, with that being said, yes, I have had a lot of experiences with it. And every time I feel as though I learned something about myself that I hadn't previously known or was previously available to me. And the biggest thing that I learned overall from psychedelics is that reality is a hallucination in itself. You know, we can hallucinate through psychedelics as well, but what is hallucinating, right? Everything right now is technically a hallucination because your brain has to filter out so much shit that is here, that is within our reality, that we just aren't perceiving because it's not essential for our survival as a human being. If our brain didn't have a filter system, and someone who talks about this, who explains this really well, is Aldous Huxley. In this book, if you want to learn more about psychedelics, The Doors of Perception, but it's like how our brains are a filter system, and we need that to survive, so we focus on the right things that make it easier for us to survive. And so that leaves the question, like, what is not a hallucination, right? So that's kind of how there's so much we don't know about what reality is and what we're actually experiencing. And psychedelics can open up more of those things in your brain that your brain usually filters. Like, your brain turns off survival mode. That's also why, like, when you're on psychedelics, you don't feel like eating at all. And makes you focus on a whole different perception of reality. So that's what it taught me. Really long-winded response. Mark with the 20. Thank you. We're shooting an independent film with some good Hollywood actors from mid-May to mid-June and have a small role for you if you'd be interested. We'll be filming in Phoenix. Dude, that would be kind of awesome. Please email me. I am interested. I would really like to act or do something. It'd be cool to be in an independent film. Send me an email at the email that is associated with this YouTube channel. Cole@seasontofu.com. But yeah, Mark, that'd be really cool. Diet Cope. I love that name. Do a podcast with Rollo Tomasi. Boy. Maybe one day. A lot of you guys have been asking me to do podcasts with like other people in like kind of the manosphere, kind of the red pillish type of stuff. But I really want to have my next podcast guest be something outside of that, because I don't want just the podcast to be like manosphere talk and like self-improvement talk. I want to do like finance or other creative work, being a videographer or something like that. If you guys have any suggestions, let me know. We got a 10 from David again. David, man. Thank you. When you talk about brain filter system, there are brains that don't filter as much. There's also brains that filter different things. It's also a way to look at the differences of people. Yeah. I wonder if that's like genetic or like inherent for some people to filter other things more than other people filter them, or if it's like conditioned through life experiences. It's probably both, right? Any filters on your mic or just standard? It's just standard. No filter. It's the Rode Video Mic NTG. I'm glad it sounds so good. What's the best Berserk arc? I mean, probably the Golden Age. But some of the most beautiful and best chapters, for me personally, are Wounds. That's when Casca and Guts have sex for the first time. But that shit is it's so raw, it's so real, it's so... Is there any purpose towards living life? Human beings create meaning within things. Find something to create meaning with, and if you can't, the purpose of living life is just to live life. Just try to experience life as much as you can. And the best way that I've described that, I feel like, is in my video titled Why Your Life Feels So Dull and Empty. It's just to simply embrace every single aspect of life that life has and say okay to it and voluntarily accept it. That's the way I live my life now. I say hell yes to whatever. I say fine, okay, let's fucking do it, to whatever. And for me, that's the best way to live my life with purpose. I find a lot of purpose in failure, rejection, heartbreak, sadness, depression, because it makes me feel human. It's part of the human experience. Don't reject any part of the human experience. We got a $9.99 from Comanzo. Thank you. Would you say no matter how severe someone has wronged you, anyone can overcome their trauma and become a survivor rather than a victim? Or are some events cause permanent damage? I think some events do cause permanent damage, but there's post-traumatic stress disorder, and there's also post-traumatic growth, where you let traumatic experiences help you grow as a person. As for how to do that, that's very complex depending on the type of trauma you went through, what you've experienced, the type of person you are. But I think I do think anybody can overcome their trauma. Now, does that mean it no longer is permanent? No, I think there's a difference between it being permanent and you overcoming it. Or am I trying to say that there's no difference between overcoming it and it being permanent? Because if you accept the fact that it's permanent, that in a way is overcoming trauma. That's what I would have to say. There's a lot of ways to have post-traumatic growth. We got a 10 from Eyebrow Dog. Do you think it's important to read books? I've been trying and failing to make time for reading. Any tips? You got time. And yeah, reading is very important. It's a way, it really does help your brain. It helps your comprehension skills. It helps your verbal skills. You have time. How about instead of every time you go and take a dump, instead of checking your phone, read your book. That's the easiest way to start. Or just make it a habit of doing it at a certain time each day. You say this time of the day is allotted for reading. And just start off with, literally, I just read like 15 to 30 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be like you got to read fucking hours a day. Read like 10 minutes before bed or while you're taking a dump. That'll make it pretty easy for you. $4.99 from John. Again, thank you, John. Last question. Do you believe in determinism? A greater force, maybe God, has a plan for you. However, it's up to your free will to follow. I believe there's some truth to what you're saying. I think both determinism and free will exist kind of in the way you're saying. Is like, I think what people have the ability to change their determinism. People have the ability to change their determinism with their free will. So like when you prime your brain to be on a certain wavelength, let's say, of like thought, of focus on things, then part of life is going to kind of push you towards the things that you're focusing on. And in that way, it's kind of like a greater force is pushing you towards something, but the only reason that greater force is pushing you towards something is because you used your free will to focus on that thing. If that makes sense. That's kind of the way I view it. Hey, Dylan. Love you, bro. After watching the live stream, you helped me so much. Even having positive thoughts, no negative ones of myself. It's cool. Thanks. That's why I do what I do. Thank you. Appreciate that, Dylan. What do you tell yourself for confidence before you cold approach a lady? Thank you for the 5, Charlie. Sorry, I was just reading a chat. Confidence before I cold approach a lady. I actually I try to not tell myself a lot, because if I start overthinking it, then I I become paralyzed, paralysis by analysis. For confidence, I guess I just say, like, no matter what happens in this situation, if I brutally fail or get rejected, what's the worst that can happen? She says no. I get laughed at and embarrass myself in front of a random person. Who the fuck are they? They don't know me. I'm not going to know them after this interaction. Whatever. It's fine. That's kind of what I tell myself. You guys are going crazy right now. Thank you. Comanzo, again, with a $4.99. Follow-up question. For someone who has wronged you, how do you realize that it's a reflection of them rather than something being wronged with me? I mean, you kind of just answered your own question there, didn't you? And it really depends on how this person wronged them. I think it's important to, this is what I tell myself for people who have different beliefs than me as well, different ways of thinking, and when I disagree with people, before I get angry at them for being the way that they are, I tell myself, everybody was brought up differently. Everybody has we all live in, I guess, the same reality, the same universe. But what that person has seen, what that person has been told since they've existed, what that person has been taught since they've existed, is why they are this person. And it's not up to you to make them a different person. You can show them their wrongdoings if you truly believe what they did was wrong. But it's probably not in your obligation to change them, change their reality. And if they are providing such a negative towards your life, then you have to step away from them and say, this is just the way that this person is going to be. This is the way that they were raised. If what I say and tell them and show with my actions is not going to change their mind, then that's it. So that's kind of what I tell myself. Root cause with the Canadian 5. Thank you. Hey, dude, thanks for the answer to the questions about sacrifices and payoffs earlier. No problem. Thank you for the 5. We get a 5 and a 2 from Raphael. Thank you, Raphael. And he says, hey, Cole, how do you learn to love yourself? Starts with asking yourself, what do you think you need in order to love yourself? What do you think you are lacking at this moment right now that you think you need in order to love yourself? What is it you're telling yourself on a daily basis that is leading you to think you're not enough? You are not confident enough. You are not whatever to love yourself. And ask yourself, how true are these statements? Where do these beliefs come from? This is the majority of everything I try to tell you guys. Is yes, a lot of it is doing the right actions, like taking care of yourself. Sleep, diet, exercise are obviously the most important. But majority of people's mental struggles, I believe, in this lifetime come from beliefs from other people that have been instilled within them. Beliefs from society. And that's what you need to evaluate. Take some time out of your day, every time you experience negative self-talk, to write it down, to evaluate it. Say, where did this come from? Where's the root of this belief? Say, oh, well, you could say, oh, well, sorry, I'm reading chat while doing this. This belief was built up over time and was strengthened because of my parents, what my parents told me, and then in school I was bullied, blah, blah, blah. Stuff like that. So evaluate your habits, the things you do on a daily basis, your beliefs, what you tell yourself. And yeah, start to incorporate the positive self-talk. We got a couple. This guy, everyone unsub from this guy. He's not answering your questions. These are the funniest people in the chat because they think I can answer every single question. And saying I only answer questions from people who paid. Obviously, the people who paid are going to get the priority with the questions because they committed an amount of money to get me to answer their questions. Of course I'm going to answer them first. And I'm going to answer as many of the regular chats as I can. That's just the way that it is. It's the way these live streams go. So I'm sorry if I don't get to your question. Sleep is actually so underrated in regards to mental health. It makes everything better or worse depending on how much of it you get. So true. So true. Sleep, diet, and exercise, you should get those down first before anything. Now the music turned off. Do you guys like it without music? How does it sound? Am I a visual learner? I suppose I am. Music, please. Music better. Oh. It was just paused. The video quality is so good. I can see this man in 4D. Dope. Good. 273 from Eyebrow Dog. Any good book recommendations? Yeah, we talked about a few earlier. Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss. How to Win Friends and Influence People. The Psychology of Money is a great book if you want to learn about money. Just the way to think about money. As far as fiction goes, talked about Zorba the Greek, an amazing story of a very wise old man. Dune, just incredible for the world building and the sci-fi. Yeah. Favorite video games? Minecraft, old school RuneScape. I mean, I always played Call of Duty as a kid. Modern Warfare 2 is the best one, the goated one. But I haven't had time to play video games recently. Just because of... I've taken on more responsibility. And that's one thing... There's a good quote that I'm paraphrasing here. It's like, you usually can't get to the next level with your business or financially, usually, without taking on more responsibility. And I've taken on a little bit more now. And so I haven't really had time to play video games. But this has got to... Oh, man. I wish I could do this all day, but this is going to be the last question. How do you feel about Hamza telling people to not play video games? I think part of him believes it. Part of him is just trying to be as controversial as possible because it's hard to keep your eyes off somebody who's like, fuck you if you play video games. Like, everybody's going to click on that because it's so controversial. So, that's how I feel about him telling people not to play video games. Of course, video games are bad if you're completely overdoing it. But if it's like your chill thing at the end of the night that you want to do for like an hour, whatever. And Hamza will disagree with me. Yeah, of course. Gonna have disagreements. What else was I gonna say about that? Also, I feel like he would be against someone wanting to become an esports athlete, which I definitely would not be against. If that's the career you would actually want to pursue, that'd be pretty dope. Is that why Hamza's blowing up on YouTube right now? Yeah, so... a lot of it is because he's so controversial and speaks with such conviction. It's hard to keep your eyes off of him. And he explains this much better in the podcast I did with him. You can subscribe to the podcast channel. The comment is pinned on this live stream. It's pinned in the comments. Check that out. But yeah, he's like a super controversial character. That's why he's blowing up. And he speaks with a cult leader mentality. So yeah. But I do have to go, guys. I have a call with a patron. And I got to do other stuff with my day, unfortunately. But this was so amazing. Like, I just felt really good about this live stream. I felt my words flowed out of my mouth well, which sometimes doesn't happen in these live streams. So thank you guys so much for being here. I will continue to say this over and over and over. I am so freaking grateful for you guys. I am so incredibly indebted to you guys. I feel like you have done so much for me in my life. I just can't thank you enough, and I can only hope that I've provided that much value to all of you. So here's to more growth, more opportunities, more taking life and its inevitable sufferings and failures on your shoulder and carrying that weight anyway and saying fuck you and getting through it. And I love you guys. So thank you guys very much for everything. And new video next week. Peace all. Have a good rest of your day.